Warm welcome. It's Mother's Day today, so let's greet Happy Mother's Day to all mothers. I would request each of you there to greet your mothers or seatmates with Happy Mother's Day right now.
Happy Mother's
Okay, thank you very much.
Time's up.
Mothers, to the world, you are just merely a mother. But to the family, you are the world. You are the heart and the great queen of every home, despite the fact that you have no crown. You are like buttons that hold everything together. You are a rare gem that we should treasure till the end of life. 1 Peter 3:4 says, "You should be known for the beauty that comes from within, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is so precious to God." As George Herbert puts it, one good mother is worth 100 school masters. Can you imagine that? And your greatest accomplishment is building Christ-like character to reflect the qualities of Jesus. This is so much better, far better than any honor the world could bestow. Yes, mothers, I salute you all. My mother, Feka Balfin, was a World War II survivor. In fact, she had actually witnessed one of the Japanese brutalities, which is when a family just few meters away from their hideout had been massacred and the whole family burned to death, from the small children to the oldest member of the family. She was born way back 1916 and made her journey to her heavenly home March of 2018, last year, at the age of 101 years and 10 months, almost 102 years. She survived her husband, our father, who died of pneumonia at the age of 58. Despite her being single parent and a widow at the age of 52, with a very small income, she had managed, with God's help of course, to produce 10 professionals composed of 3 teachers, 3 engineers, a commerce, a medtech, a nurse, and an architecture graduate. And through God's help also, had been gainfully employed. Despite her very advanced age, her memory never failed. She still wrote letters to family and friends. Her children used to consult her when they forget, and she was still quick to answer. We stare at each other and just laugh at ourselves. Nanay had an artistic talent which she discovered when she was 93 years old after joining the church art class. In fact, one of her works still hangs on the doctor's clinic in the city of Roanoke. She had that strong faith in God that when visited by pastors and friends, only Jesus helped me, especially when she became a widow. She considers Jesus as her Savior and Lord, having accepted him in her life. She was happy living with her companion dog, Oak, her dog of comfort, for 20 years. And Oak died also after her death 5 years later. They were the inseparable partner, traveling together to the Philippines and back. She had a generous soul who always lends a hand to those in need. We, her children, call her Nanay, which means mother. Nanay, we cannot send you a card, but we can send our love upon the wings of angels to heaven up above. Your sweet memories will linger forever. You deserve to be our great queen, even if you're a queen without a crown here on earth. But we know that now you have a crown in heaven. We love you, Nanay, and happy birthday to you in heaven. Thank you.
My mom's name, Evelyn Lorraine Huffman Wheeler. My mom loved my dad with all of her heart, her mind, and her soul. She was a person who could stretch everything to make everyone happy. Mom raised 6 of us, 2 boys and 4 sisters. Mom did not work while raising our family. She had 3 small children to care for while my dad was in World War II. This is a little story. In 1953, I won an art drawing in the 5th grade for $25, and it was sponsored by a local bank. And it was about making money. I didn't get into that detail. I had total savings of $35. It was Christmas Eve. And my mom came to me and explained there would be no Christmas for brothers and sisters. It was very hard times. At this time, my dad was working in a weaving mill, and he got laid off somehow or other, and he was doing just odd ends, and things was very hard at the time. This money was for my dental work. I agreed and went to my hiding place and gave her the money with one thing: don't buy me anything. Spend all the money on my brother and my sisters, and just pay me back. Later, I was paid back and had my dental work done. We had a nice Christmas, and everyone was very happy. Later, Mom worked at Eli Lilly and retired there. Mom did not drive, but she managed rides to and from work for 25 years. 25 years. Words from Darlene. My mother-in-law was a wonderful lady. I loved her dearly. She would always call and say, "How are the children doing? How is your mother? How is your church doing?" She was a great mother-in-law and grandmother. Mom did not want much in life. She was a modest person. Mom gave us all good sound advice. And believe you do your best with what you have. Mom always made me feel good about myself. Encouraged me in everything. Being neat, dressed neat, courtesy, school, and always be on time. There is no love as great as your mom's. I remember all of us children dressed up and went to church a few times. She expected all of us to respect Mom and Dad and look after brother and sisters. With love, your son, Kent.
And so now it's my turn to follow these beautiful mothers. The stories are so spectacular, and it is certainly my privilege to be up here this morning. I would like to introduce you to a lady by the name of Josephine. She was born in Princeton, West Virginia. The year was 1909, and when she came into the world, she had 5 sisters and 1 brother. Her parents were very proud of her. Her father was going to name her Josie. That was it, just Josie Rolls. But grandmother said, no, her name will be Josephine, but you can call her Josie. So that's what her family always called her, Josie. She was not a very healthy child when she was little. But by the time she got to elementary school, she had improved and excelled. Her teachers loved her. She loved school. And she had not been in elementary school very many years until she met her prince. She was probably in the 3rd or 4th grade. And he managed to show up at her door every morning to carry her books. This prince. But Mother and Father, James and Margaret, weren't very happy with him. They considered that he was just a ne'er-do-well. She could do a lot better than that. This was her baby, and they knew she could do better than that. However, their friendship remained true all the way through elementary school, and they got into high school, and it blossomed into love. So in the year of 1928, early May, Josephine graduated from high school. Prince didn't. He still lacked a couple of years of getting there. But Margaret and James decided, I know how we'll separate them. We'll just put Josephine on the train to go to Bristol, Virginia. She has a sister living there, and she can spend the summer. So, on May the 3rd of 1928, she boarded the train. What they didn't know was that her prince was already on the train. So they made their way to Bristol, and on May the 4th of 1928, on Prince's 19th birthday, they were married. They came back to Princeton the next day and told everybody, the family, we're married. So within the next year, they had moved to Kimball, West Virginia, a little coal mining town. And Daddy worked for the Norfolk and Western Railroad. Mother was a stay-at-home wife at that point. But they had happy things in their hearts because in 1930 of April, early April, they were expecting a bouncing baby boy or girl. They didn't know which. But the mother, Josephine, was looking forward to being a mother. However, the bouncing baby didn't happen in April because in January, their home was entered with this tiny, preemie daughter. She wasn't bouncy and she wasn't very beautiful, but she came to live with them. And Josephine, being the woman that she was, she took care of this scrawny, not so pretty baby that really failed to thrive so often. She had all the problems that preemies have. But some way or another, Josephine managed to keep her going. So before she was 2 years old, they had moved back to Princeton, maybe because she needed help, not sure. But in December of 1931, she did have her bouncing baby boy, a brother to this preemie. And then in 1934, the summer, there was a second bouncing baby girl. She managed this with these two children because she spent the last 3 months of her pregnancy in bed with Prince's mother, her mother-in-law, taking care of her and the children, so that the babies were healthy, bouncing babies. These were not very easy times for them with the new babies coming. And during this same time, Prince went back and got his high school diploma, went on to college in Athens, West Virginia, and graduated magna cum laude. Proud. He was a one-room school teacher. He was a principal. He was a bus driver. He did many things, and then he went to work for the Appalachian. And in the early 50s, they moved to Roanoke, and then at the end of the 50s, they moved to Franklin County. But there I get a little bit ahead of the story, because in 1936, when they were both in their mid-20s, Josephine's Prince began having horrible back pain. And the doctors that he went to said, "It's all in your head. We can't find a thing wrong with you. You're in your mid-20s, there's nothing to be wrong." But there was one doctor that said, "Hey, why don't you go to Johns Hopkins Hospital and just let them check you out?" So they did make the trip. They didn't have any money, but they went. And it was discovered that Josephine's Prince had a tumor on the spinal cord, which needed immediate surgery. Had he been 2 or 3 days later in getting there, he would have been a paraplegic for the rest of his life. It was there that her Prince made his promise, and of course it was her promise too, that however he could, the rest of his life, whatever church he was in, he would serve his church. He would serve his Lord the best of his ability. And Josephine stood behind him. She was the strength and the power that he needed to be behind her. And yes, of course, she was the power and the strength behind her children too. She made sure that they exceeded and excelled. So when the time came that they came here to Red Valley in the late 50s or early 60s, it was her Prince that filled this pulpit many times. He sang in the choir. He was a soloist. He was always there to do whatever needed doing. He was serving his Lord. And she was behind him. She was the strength and the prayer that was there. And of course our children were also helped along by this lady, because her son was a pastor, a United Methodist pastor. He was a Ferrum professor. He was a father. He was involved in so many things. Also, her other daughter was a pastor's wife. She was a teacher, a musician, a soloist. She had 3 sons that were also musical. And they came to Red Valley several times and always sang. We loved hearing them. They had beautiful voices. So these are some of the things, the legacies of this original Josephine. She lived to be 80 years old. But when she was 60, she decided she was going to quilt, and she did become an excellent quilter. She was a seamstress. Everything she did, she excelled in, but she never put herself ahead. She was always that strength behind all of her abilities. But anyway, in 1980, she died at the age, in 1990, she died at the age of 80. Her legacy is a very special one. She had 3 children. She had, let's see, I've got my notes here somewhere. She had 10 grandchildren. There were 9 boys and 1 girl in her grandchildren. She had 9 sons and 1. She had great-grandchildren. There were 8 boys and 10 girls, great-grandchildren. And her great-great-grandchildren, there are 6 of them, plus 1 little girl. And yes, we have a little 7-year-old girl in our family, another Josephine, our Josie. She has some big steps to fill to meet and to greet the original Josephine.